Hi, my name is Andrew Culkin, and I'm the author of Amanda, a Cautionary Tale. And it's the story of my wife's 20-year decline with alcoholism and ultimately her untimely passing a little over 2 years ago. One of the reasons why I started down this journey and to write this book, to give you some introduction to begin with, was really it happened shortly after she passed away. I came home from work one day and I drove up in the driveway, and I was an outside broker, I was an insurance broker, and I'd been driving around all day. And on the front porch was a big blue box. And the moment I drove up into the driveway, I had a pretty good idea what was in the blue box. So I got out of the car and gingerly walked to the front door. I was at that point, this is only a few weeks after my wife had passed away, and I walked up to the box and picked it up, and to my disbelief, the box said, "Do not leave, human remains inside," which I was filled with both anger and anger for them just leaving the box there. I don't know if it was FedEx, I can't remember who delivered it, but I walked inside and I sat down in the front room, and I realized the only thing I had left was this box of ashes. Just a box of ashes. It was a cardboard box, plastic liner with ashes inside it. And Amanda and I, we had been together for 27 years and we were married for 25 years. And I realized, after all that time, all I had left was a box of ashes. And I did not want to leave the story there. After so many years and literally decades of experience with this mental illness of alcoholism, I really knew and understood that there's a lot of people I could help with my experience. Because the book itself, it's a very unique story in the sense that it's my story, it's also Amanda's story and our son's story. It's a story of survival on a family part, and it's also a story of my ignorance into my great experience with this disease. And it is definitely a disease, and it needs to be characterized. Society needs to characterize it and understand it as a disease, no different than heart disease or cancer. Just like those diseases, if you catch it in the earlier stages, you have a lot better chance of surviving the disease. If someone's been drinking for 15 or 20 years, they have a very minute chance of surviving it at all. And a lot of people think, you see somebody falling down drunk and it's funny, but in reality is these people they're fighting for their lives, okay? So on the first video today, what I really wanted to do is I want to discuss, 5 ways to identify if someone is either an alcoholic or they have alcoholic tendencies. Some of these might be very obvious, but unless you break them down and talk about them, you might not see them in somebody that either in a loved one or a friend. It's amazing how many people had no idea that Amanda had an issue. And usually it was friends that hadn't seen her for a long time. But the number one reason someone would have alcoholic tendencies is denial. And denial is denial that the person has a problem, because everybody around that person realizes that the alcoholic has a problem. The alcoholic is usually the last one to be in on the secret, unfortunately. Amanda, she was in denial ultimately until the day I held her hand and we turned off her machines. She realized that she was an alcoholic. I'm not saying that kind of denial. She realized she had a problem. Unfortunately, when you have a chemical and a emotional and a psychological addiction, you're cooked. You're in deep doo-doo. Even if you realize you have a problem. Denial, unless you have the self-actualization in the early stages, unless someone has the self-actualization that they do have a problem and they understand that they need to change their behavior, or they need to put themselves in a situation of a rehab situation or AA meetings, or to have someone who is an accountability partner, like a sponsor in an AA meeting. that person's really not going to have a whole lot of chance. The earlier you detect it, the better. Another thing is the inability to moderate alcohol consumption. An alcoholic does not have the ability to moderate. They will drink until they pass out on the floor a lot of times. The people around them, in the beginnings, it might be funny. Like for a college age kid, there's a lot of peer pressure to drink. You may even have drinking games. And that's where alcoholism starts. Most people's alcoholic career starts between the ages of 15 and 20. Certainly the college age is where a lot of people start. But the inability to moderate, their consumption, and then the belief that they can handle it, that it's different this time. The person just says, they want to relax. If you're in the later stages, like Amanda, she would say, well, it's Wednesday, I just need to get through my week, or it's Friday, it's the end of the week and I deserve a drink, and then that turns into Saturday, and then, well, I need a drink on Sunday because I have to deal with the week coming up in front of me. So you create this cycle, and this habit that never goes away. And when you start that when you're younger, and you don't have the ability to see what you're doing, you're going down a very, very dark and dangerous and treacherous road. The third thing to identify if someone's an alcoholic is alcoholics have the ability to rationalize unacceptable behaviors. Now, this is a true conversation I had with Amanda. I remember her first DUI, and instead of saying, "Oh, I'm sorry, I got a DUI," I was drinking. No, her rationality was, I can't believe how unlucky I was that they caught me at a sobriety checkpoint less than a mile from my house. How unlucky was I that I got caught? Rather than looking inwards and saying, maybe I should stop drinking. She goes, how unlucky I was that I got caught. Learned nothing from that, and had, ended up having 3 more DUIs. But my point is the ability to rationalize very unacceptable behavior is a red flag that someone has a serious drinking problem. The next one would be the talented ability to convince oneself that a lie is a truth. Give you an example. I'm sorry, I was passed out on the ground next to the bathroom. It'll never happen again. It was just one of those one-time things. I promise it'll never happen again. The ability to rationalize all your activities away, to be able to just compartmentalize your activities, and to put them underneath the rug. The ability to do that is just uncanny. You're not admitting to yourself that you have a problem, and it's amazing. Either you won't talk about it. You won't talk about passing out on the floor or getting a DUI, or in Amanda's case, she ran through the front of our house a couple times, drove right through the garage door more than once, and almost killed me once. There's a whole chapter on it in the book, but able to rationalize, oh, I got my foot stuck on the gas pedal. Sorry. Instead of saying, wow, maybe I should stop drinking. Perfect example. The next one, I would say, this is really the 5th one, and this is the red flag, and you can catch this kind of earlier on. There's 2 parts, but drinking in isolation, when someone is, they're going up into their bedroom, or they're hiding somewhere, or they have places in the house where they hide, or maybe they go to a friend's house to drink, or they go in the backyard or the garage, or somewhere where someone isn't going to identify them with having a problem. Amanda used to have this uncanny ability to say, no, I haven't been drinking at all. And she would hide open beers behind the pillow. She'd be sitting on a couch, and I'd come home from work, and there'd be like a beer, you could smell it, it was so ridiculous, and have, a beer behind the couch. So they hide they not only isolate, they also hide their activities. And these are all red flags. These are all very, very obvious red flags that someone has a drinking problem, that a loved one has a drinking problem. I hope this helps. I'm going to make several of these. This is a little bit longer than normal. I wanted to introduce myself, and we're going to go from there. Again, the book, if you want to go to the website, is www.amanda, a cautionary tale.com. You can go to the website and sign up for pre-orders, and you'll get newsletters and updates on what's going on. Again, thank you for listening through this, and we'll talk to you soon.